Hi, everyone. I guess thank you for being here. This is, very exciting to share a little bit about the Landscape Awards, the goals, the process, and how we recognize those projects that truly support Florida's native ecosystems. Oh, hi, Melissa. I guess before we jump into questions, I'm gonna give you a quick overview of the award categories and the submission guidelines, and then we open the floor for discussion. So feel free to ask anything about the submissions, the judging criteria, or how to get involved with the awards. Val, can I share my screen? Yes, I think. Let me.
You should
Right
be able
here.
to if the arrow is green, I think.
I have it. I have it. Yes. All righty. So for those that haven't visited the website, you can find it here at fmps.org. You go to, if we go to the beginning, then we go to, hi. Now I forgot where we go. Native plants. No. This changed a little bit, right? Here. So we go to the landscaping with natives, and we click on more information and application form. So here's the main website. The awards this year, as previous years, will recognize the Native Garden of Excellence to those that projects that excel in plant diversity, habitat creation, water conservation, long-term maintenance, and of course innovative and thoughtful design practices. Each category will receive one Native Garden of Excellence, and then we also have open up to 10 projects across all of the categories with a Native Garden of Honor recognition. Categories are basically the same as last year with a couple of changes. This year we have the residential native landscaping, and then we have two subcategories for these. Professional native landscapes for those landscapes that have been designed or installed by a professional landscaper or like a landscape architect or a landscape contractor. And then the homeowner created native landscape for those enthusiasts that have been doing them themselves, installed and maintained by the homeowners. The next category is the commercial and institutional landscaping. Oh, let me say that for the residential native landscape, we require a 75 or more % of the property landscape area to contain Florida native plants. Now, the next category is the commercial and institutional landscaping. Of course, for this one, the requirement is at least 60% of the property containing native Florida plants. This category recognizes, those commercial, government, and institutional properties, or public areas within, communities, HOAs, parks, parking lots that integrate native plants. The next category, probably one of our favorites, habitat restoration and conservation. For this one, the requirement is 100% of the area must be dedicated to the restoration and enhancement of a native plant communities. So of course, only native plants, 100%. And the last one, the last category, which is also very interesting and we see a lot throughout the state, is the pollinator and wildlife demonstration garden. So these are projects that also require 100% to contain native plants. And these are projects that are recognized and led by communities, by, I'm going to say, schools, churches. So community-driven projects that do demonstration gardens will fall into this category. Honestly, it doesn't matter if the project is on a public or private land, as long as you demonstrate that the main goal for this is has educational purposes. It could be a combination of also, different organizations that get together to put this in place. Fees are pretty simple: residential $60, institutional $100, habitat restoration and conservation $60, pollinator and demonstration gardens $40. If you are a school or a non-for-profit, you can email Val at communications@fmps.org for a fee waiver. So, because we're already past the early bird discount, 10% if you had applied earlier. And of course, fund members get a 10%, and chapter members get a 25% discount. The rules and regulations are pretty straightforward: a minimum growing period for at least 2 years. So think about projects that were installed on or before August 2023 are eligible. Now, invasive species prohibition. You will be disqualified. Projects will be disqualified if in the designated area that you're submitting for your project, there is there is any plant listed either as category 1 or 2 by the Florida Invasive Species Council. And I want to highlight these because for a lot of butterfly gardens that include Asclepias curaçavica, the tropical milkweed, that has been now listed as category 2 by the council. So that project will be disqualified unless before submitting you remove the tropical milkweed. And I'm going to say something for this: even if you don't include the plant in your plant list, our jurors have eagle eyes and they will see the plants on the pictures. So, be mindful of that. Submission deadline, August 1st. So we have about 2 weeks and a half. Again, the native plant requirements for residential projects, 75%, for commercial, 60%. For community gardens, here it says a 90%, and we have 100% here. So I think that was like a small typo there, but it's 100% for pollinator and community gardens. I just realized that, so I apologize. And of course, for restoration, 100% of the designated area as well must include native plants. Project documentation, a plant list, before and after photos, I'm going to say, are very, very helpful to understand, for the jurors to understand the process of what happened before and how you transform the last landscape. So it is not a requirement, they're not mandatory, but they are very helpful. And again, for community engagement, all of the categories will get extra points if there has been any community engagement. And, of course, of that evidence of community involvement, whether it's via pamphlets, programs, or photographs, should be provided. Now, defining a project area. So if you are submitting a residential project, it doesn't have to be for the entire property. You can designate, let's say, a front yard. So be specific about that. Be specific about it's a front yard and the square footage that you're going to be presenting for this project. That square footage is the one that requires the 75% native plants. So be specific about that. Unless you are submitting the entire property, that's also fine, even better. But you can define the areas. For commercial projects, of course, you can do the same thing for those properties or institutional projects, a minimum of 60%. And then, of course, by defining the project area. In this case, let's say it's a soccer field, it's a playground, it is the entrance of a building. So, you know, all of those things should be like defined. One of the things that we want everyone to consider are large lawn areas. With sustainable practices in the future, we want to aim at reducing large lawn areas. So we encourage applicants to, you know, of course, reduce the turf grass where it's possible, and use native grasses, ground covers, or other native turf alternatives. And, you know, of course, if you identify that on your project, that would be, you know, extra points. For very large properties, you know, you can just focus on a defined portion of the site. So that's going to be easier to evaluate rather than just, you know, 5 acres, you know. Again, projects may include front side or front backyards, side backyards, side yards, backyards, entry gardens, courtyards, you know, common areas where they're like, you know, pool areas, parking lots, swells, schools, churches, you know, right-of-way buffers, anything that has been, that is a managed landscape. And the next thing, you go here to the website and you click where it says FMPS Landscape Awards application page, where it takes you to either the Google form to start filling up all of your information, or if you don't have a Gmail account, although we really encourage for you to do this application, but if you don't have a Gmail account, you can send your application via email, and here are all of the questions. So I guess this is time for getting some questions, if you guys have any. Or should I say more things, Val? Do you think I cover everything?
I mean, I feel like that was pretty comprehensive. I do have a question, actually, to
Oh,
start
go
with.
ahead. Yes?
Yeah, so I have a landscape that was professionally designed and installed in 2017.
Mm-hmm.
I moved into. It's
Mm-hmm.
mostly static, but I have added plants here or there.
Mm-hmm.
Would I need to stop adding plants for a year prior to submitting an application?
So no, I mean, the main portion of the landscape is already established, right? And as any other, I'm gonna say living organism, you know, it happens that even, you know, we keep always on adding new plants, and that's totally acceptable. But we wanna see that the majority of the landscape, the form of the landscape has been you know, in the ground for at least 2 years. And the main goal of that is that, you know, of course, we want to see if it was a design consideration to understand the growth habit of the plant. So, you know, we want to make sure these are gardens that are aesthetically pleasing, but that are also healthy. So that's what we want the gardens to be at least 2 years. That doesn't mean that if you've added a couple of plants here and there.
Just muted Suzanne
Yes?
there.
You wanted to say something, Suzanne? No. Alrighty, I don't know if there's any other question.
Thank you for this.
You're more than welcome. Things that I would like to make emphasis for those that for all of you that are applying. The plant list, of course, is very important. But since last year, we also wanted to make sure that you have a long-term maintenance plan. So if you have an idea of, how you're maintaining it, how you're watering your plants, if you're watering or if you're not, that's also very helpful for the users to understand how the space and the plants are thriving in your garden. I'm gonna see, maybe we could go a little bit on the questions so kind of like to have an idea a little bit. So these are the questions that you're gonna be finding. I'm sharing my screen, right? With the questions, right? Everybody sees the project overview?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So first of all, we're gonna require that brief project overview. And one of the things we wanna know is that, have you solved a problem using native plants? Or is this your first time using native plants? We want you to tell us the story about your project. Because, at the end of the day, the awards will showcase and will help paint a picture of the things that we can do with native gardens. And we wanna hear the story of your project. If you can upload at least, a maximum of 10 photos, that's great. And then here I was saying, it will be great to have before pictures to, help us understand what happened in that area. We want a native plant list. It is optional to let us know where you procure those plants. But that's also, great to know. And then, of course, if you can highlight any rare or threatened native species that have been incorporated into the design, that's amazing. We want to know if your garden or your project contributes to the creation of or enhancement of wildlife habitats. So how, in the design intent, you have been incorporating features to promote habitat, such as, nesting sites or water sources or, shelter for wildlife. And then maybe you can explain or show some examples of native wildlife that has been supported by the use of the native plants in your garden. We also want to know water conservation and irrigation. So what were the management practices that you used in your project? Maybe you grouped the plants, by water needs and, why and how. We want to know that. If an irrigation system was used, which one was used? Was it irrigation on a schedule, only for the establishment? Do you still running your irrigation system? And then maybe are you harvesting gray water? Are you using rainwater? So all of those things, you can answer on the questions. For soil and site management, we want to know what were the conditions of the area before the project started. Was there any soil amendment use? Did you use mulch? Did you use pine bark? Did you use pine needles? Maybe you didn't use any mulch and you still have a very successful project after 2 years. So we want to hear about that. Was there any pesticide management or weed control? We want to, please give us a brief description of any invasive plant control or eradication that you used as part of the project. Here, with communication and participation, very important. How are your local community members, involved in the project? during the establishment? Have you done any tours? Let's say chapter tours, garden tours, will fall into this category. Do you have any signage outside your garden that says this is a wildlife habitat? And then maybe you can also give us a little explanation on how your project, or you believe your project, benefits native landscaping in your community. Do you have any maintenance strategies? So again, quick answers. It doesn't have to, I think that it's only like 300 characters. So, but we want to know what's your commitment to long-term or short-term management practices. And then, of course, one that is very important, what were the design aesthetic considerations that you used in your design? Why did you put the, wildflowers with certain colors in the front? Maybe you used taller shrubs to create some privacy or to create layers. Did you use, different types of textures and colors that we find in the beautiful palette of native plants that we have? So we want to know, maybe you have a creative or very innovative design element that was incorporated into the project. So we want to hear about that. And then we want to also look hear if you believe that your design contributes to connect us back to, Florida's regional identities by using native plants. So, and then again, the last question is if you have any additional information that you believe can help us learn more about the project, you're welcome to submit it. Again, this is what I'm showing here. It's just a Word document in case you cannot submit your project via this application, which we encourage them for you to do it, just because all of the data will be collected in a little bit more organized way. But if you don't, you can also get this one and send us the images and the additional documentation together via email to, I'm gonna go, because I think the email submission is to info@fmps.org. All right, are there any questions?
Doug popped some questions into the chat.
Let me see, why is that? Can I see it? Maybe I have to stop sharing here. Okay, I have two questions, both revolving around the disqualification. Okay, my yard has torpedo grass in it that has very hard to control and regularly in my beds. Would torpedo grass be a disqualifier? And established Queen Ponds was inherited when we purchased the house and haven't been able to afford to remove them yet. I could submit around that. Is it more? Are Queen Ponds considered invasive? Are they listed? No. Let me see.
We can check.
Yeah, let's see. Oh, yes, they are category 2.
Yeah.
Well, in that case, yes, it happens that and it's not only happening to you, Doug, it happens to a lot of people as well. I'm gonna say when you have a larger specimen that will disqualify the project, I recommend you to have another portion of your project dedicated to the submission. So that area where the Queen Palm is, you will have to reduce it. I don't know if it's in the front or the back. You said it was in the... And then you could submit around that, yes. It's more on the side yard than my front, yes. So for that, I will have that Queen Pond stay out of the submission. Yeah, Queen Ponds are category 2, yes. So for that one, dog, I will just reduce the size or the designated area that you're going to be submitting to the project, to the awards for sure. And then torpedo grass. So again, that is something that is very difficult to manage, and I'm here, I'm there with you. I suspect that the torpedo grass area or the turf area is not going to be the main portion of the project that you're going to be submitting. So again, I will focus on the areas that are not turfed, and that way the torpedo grass can stay out of the submission. The queen is on the right side of the driveway and in a smaller part of the yard. Well, it seems that you have a perfect project to submit. Dog, I will just make sure that the area where the queen ponds are not, is not part of the project that you're submitting. So maybe front yard. Yes, you're right. The war against torpedo grass or the battles are very difficult.
I have that as
So
well.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But then again, you don't have to submit a turf area. You can submit, all the plant beds and, front yard and designate that. Mhm.
I mean, for me, the torpedo grass is tough, but if I spent maybe like 3 days, I could clear up a bed of it, at least for the photos.
That's true. That's true. That's true. And we understand a lot of the struggles with invasive species, we have. But at the end of the day, we want to showcase, those efforts, and perhaps in the project, in the part where we are asking about pesticide management and weed control, you can also, tell us, Doug, your story about how you've been, dealing with torpedo grass, and maybe we can also learn something from you.
Yeah. Same.
Exactly.
I feel that pain.
Exactly. So yeah, it is a very difficult issue, but we're there, the collective effort of, all of those that are fighting torpedo grass.
Form a union.
There you go. All righty, I don't know, do you think there's any other questions, Val? I could, you're
Yeah.
right, dog, that is not something that is easy either. That is easy either. And, for a lot of these projects, pesticides, and either, organic or chemical pesticides, any, pesticide management. We want to hear, because we want to learn, and I'm gonna say using chemical pesticides or weed control methods will not disqualify the project, because we want to learn about things that are being successful for a lot of people. And of course, if you are using the right practices and the right methods, it might, give us an understanding on the challenges of, each project and the success that, everybody has, because we have all pretty much been dealing with, invasive species and like weeds that we don't want part of our landscapes. And what else can we say? Well, I also want to point out that this is a the design aspect and the aesthetics of the gardens will be highly evaluated. So also in that portion, I think it's very important that you take the most amazing pictures of your garden, of your project, if you can. Right, Val? I'm gonna say, try to choose a day where there's not a lot of harsh sunlight. Sometimes when there's a little bit of clouds, then it's easier to photograph outdoors. So there's less contrast between the light and the shadows, and all of, the plants are not casting a lot of shades. So make sure you have amazing pictures, because we are not doing site visits. So everything that we learn is from the things that you will be sending us. And gardens that are looking amazing in a picture are going to say a lot of things to the tutors. And so try to make really good photographs that are wide, that show, like an open image, rather than just, we see a lot people submitting macro and like very details of just one flower. No, we want the whole layout. So don't remember, you only have 10 opportunities, 10 pictures to send, 10. So make sure those images are like great looking pictures. So very important. Of course, if you want to show us some details on like, some plants that you really like, that's great. But we want to see the whole composition. There you go, Melissa, you're right. If you want to send some like detailed pictures of like, macro images of the amazing native plants that we have, consider the photograph contest that's going on right now. I think you can also find it on the website, right, Val?
Yes, yeah.
Yes.
And we have announcements in the Sable Miner that just went out today, as well as on social
Correct.
for Wednesday.
Correct. So, but for the landscape awards, consider, wide images that, we get to see the entire project. Very important. And I guess that's it for today. I don't know if there's any other question. Please feel free to send us an email at info@fmps.org. We can, of course, answer any of the questions. And I guess if you are ready to apply, I wish you the best of luck. I'm sure last year we had amazing projects, and I'm sure that this year we're gonna have even better, more amazing, progress that projects that showcase how beautiful landscapes can be when we use native plants.
Thank you, Natalia.
Thank you,
You're welcome.
Natalia.
No, you're welcome. Always happy to be here.
Looking forward to seeing everybody's submissions, and yeah, I'll edit this and get it out to people who wanted it.
Perfect. All righty. So have a wonderful lunch, everyone.
Have a great weekend.
Bye.
Bye.